right, welcome to our today's interesting session where we'll be looking at fundamentals of emergency medicine, commonly known as FEM. Our topic for today will be looking at poisoning and poisons. I'm your host Morgan Epika Izurukama Jr. Okay, so what is a poison? So a poison is just a substance. When we say a substance, we are referring to anything that can either be in a solid form, liquid form, or even gaseous, which, if introduced into the living body, it brought into contact with any parts of thereof, and it will produce and heal health or death by constitutional or local effect or both. So, in other words, what we're just trying to say here is that poison, it can either be in solid. In solid, we're referring maybe to food stuff. In liquid, we're referring to even the drinks and the beverages that we take. You realize that maybe someone will add some percentage or concentration of poison in that one. Then when you take, you just think to say just liquid, normal liquid, but it has been poisoned. Then gases, we have gases such as gases that can make you to become uh, like uh, gases that have got poison. Like I'll give an example of chloroform. Chloroform, it is very, very, very poisonous because what it does is that the moment you inhale chloroform, just for few seconds after inhaling, you become unconscious for 3 hours. And once you become unconscious, guess what happened? And that's the one that even thieves and these kidnappers they were using. Even those times when you remember of issues that has to do with gassing, people they were using what? Poison in form of a gas. Because if you just put that poison just on the doorstep or just on an air vent, and then you infuse the poison within the house, the moment that poison enters into the house in form of a gas, remember, gases, gas particles, they have a weaker intermolecular force of attraction, which we call the Van der Waals force of attraction. It's very, very, very weak. And the gas particles, they move randomly anyhow. So they can diffuse from the doorstep where they are, the concentration is very high, to the room where the concentration is very low, where you are sleeping. And the moment you inhale it, you become unconscious. So that's how poisons are. Okay. So then what is poisoning? So if you look at the patient that we have there, if you look at the patient that we have there, let me get my pointer. So poisoning, if you look at this patient here, we're saying the development of a dosage related adverse effect. So following the exposure to chemical, drugs or other xenobiotics. Okay, so poisoning is when someone gets drugs or anything that is poison in an overdose. And once they get that overdosage, remember it's only the liver that is used, which has the capability and the ability to detoxify toxic substances. It can either be poison, it can either be alcohol and whatnot. But in an event where the poison is too much and it is highly concentrated in the body, guess what will happen? The cells that are found in the liver, which we call the hepatocyte cells, they are going to absorb that poisonous substance, and the more they absorb the poisonous substance, the concentration inside will be too much, so they will start requiring water, and then they'll undergo a certain kind of solution that we call hypotonic solution, where now hypotonic solution is a solution where the concentration inside the cell becomes highly concentrated, and that will now allow water to start entering into the cell. And when water enters into the cell, guess what happens? The cell it will burst. But before the cell bursts, what are some of the cardinal things that you're going to see? You are going to see to say that the liver is going to be inflamed. It is going to undergo what we call hyperplasia. Hyperplasia, hyperplasia, it is just okay, not hyperplasia, but hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, this is just an increase in the cell size. When a cell is increasing from its original size to an abnormal size, and once these hepatocyte cells increases in size, guess what happens? Even the whole entire organ, which is the liver, it is also going to be enlarged. And when the liver is enlarged, then what we're going to see some form of inflammation of the liver, which we call hepatitis. And eventually, if it is not controlled or handled, then a person will die. Because when the cell dies, guess what happens? The tissues will die. And when the tissues dies, then guess what happens? Organs will die. And when the organ fails to function, we'll have liver failure. And this will trigger to renal failure. And then now, it will now go into organs will start affecting systems. And the system will affect the whole entire organism. And eventually, we'll lose a person. Okay, now what is the epidemiology? Remember yesterday, the other day that we were looking at that was internal medicine when I was talking about what was that? Corolla. We talked about epidemiology. What is epidemiology? Epidemiology is just a study of disease on how they are distributed in particular what geographical areas. We've got different and various geographical regions within our continent. Okay, so according to the World Health Organization 2004, they recorded about uh, 346,000 deaths in a year due to poison. And in 2005, India only, just India only, recorded about 113,914 estimated cases of poison with insecticide. You know, people have been poisoning themselves. Others, they will tell you the major cause of them to get poisoned. Others, they will say they had too much debts. Others, they will say maybe they've just fed up and they've lost hope with their lives. And others, it's just the relationship thing where maybe you find you had entrusted this person and then finally you get heartbroken, and then you take other drugs. Like once you take some toxic drugs like alcohol, you'll be influenced and then you just poison and kill yourself. So mostly that are the major causes of poisoning. Okay, then the commonest cause, like in India, it's just pesticide. Even in Zambia, we had recorded a lot of cases where people are using doom just to poison themselves, and other people were using overdosage of paracetamol, getting it up to maybe 50 paracetamol, 500 milligrams times 50. Now imagine how much dosage, and imagine too much of the drug that you get, it all goes to the liver.
Yes.
And the liver, it has its half-life, the drug, sorry, not the liver. So the drug has got it has got half-life, which is the time it will take for half of that drug to be removed from the body. Because the drugs, they are not, once you take drugs, they have to be removed from the body either by sweating or either by urinating through the urinary system, or either by after detoxification from the liver. But in an event where you take too much dosage and then this your liver is now failing to detoxify all that concentration, then you just this is how we see people dying, because the concentration of the dosage is it has gone beyond the expected. Okay, so reasons: agriculture-based economy, like easily available pesticide, and then also the reason why most people are using insect pesticides to kill themselves is that in agriculture, it is agriculture economy. Pesticides are very much common, and they are very cheap. Even poor people can afford them. Yes. Now, this now introduces us to the new interesting Types of poisoning. Okay, so when we look at the types of poisoning, we have what we call acute poisoning as well as chronic poisoning. What is acute poisoning? Acute poisoning, this is just the excessive single dose or several smaller doses of a poison taken over a short interval of time. Chronic poisoning, this is where a small dose, like over a period of time, resulting into a gradual worsening, e.g., it can like arsenic and phosphorus and antimony, etc., etc. So when we talk about acute poisoning here, it's just a single dose or several small doses of poison taken just for a short interval. So this one, when you take just take a small interval, this one usually call it acute. This is an event where someone wanted to kill themselves, but after taking the poison, it was not too much, it was not highly concentrated, and then this person has or survived. Maybe they had last the patient to the nearest hospital. They had given them something to neutralize the poison, especially milk, because in milk there is sodium hydroxide, which is a strong base, conjugate base, that neutralizes an acid, the hydrogen ion that are present in poisons. Then under chronic poisoning, this is where a smaller dose over a period of time resulting into a gradual worsening, e.g. arsenic. Okay, chronic, it's where if you've heard of those people that usually talk about killing a person slowly. Situation where they will be putting a small amount of dosage just to make their organs, the liver especially as well as the kidney, to start failing. They'll be putting just a small one because under no circumstance, no any patient that can be taking this small amount of poison every day for them just to kill themselves. So those people that are tamed, given just a smaller dosage for a longer period of time, this now results into just worsening their organ. Example of such drugs, we have arsenic, phosphorus, as well as antimony. Okay. Now, what is the nature of poison? Poison is homicidal. Anything that ends with cidal, suicide, homicide, it kills. Simply means killing. Side means killing. Homicide is killing, like killing of the human being by another human being by administering poisonous substance deliberately. That is homicide. Deliberately. Maybe you had pressed something to say, okay, I'll give an example where it has happened in so many houses, and we've actually received a lot of reports where you find to say that here is a child at home, and then this child just looked at this bottle of paraffin, and then the child is thinking as if that is just a bottle of water, and then suddenly they get to drink paraffin. That one, it can be a best example for homicide, homicidal, where you just kill them deliberately, like it was not even intention, but just deliberate move. Suicidal, this is when a person administer a poison himself to end his or her life. We only call it suicide when you kill yourself using toxic drug. Accidental, like in household poison, can either be nail polish, muntu atenga che nail polish, or hair remover, it kills, or acetone, this one kills, or depredatory like barium sulfide, this one kills, like just in household. We have people that keeps these chemicals within their house. Then occupational, here this is where maybe at the workplace in professional work, it can either be insecticidal and noxious fumes, where maybe these are fumes, they are gases, gas poisons. These also can kill. Maybe they've sprayed it at the when after they've sprayed it at the workplace, and then workers are there. The more they inhale, the more it is destroying their organs. Before they know it, if they are not taking their medication, if they are not going to the nearest hospital to be checked up and also to be given some neutralizers, then this person can automatically die. So now let's look at classification of poison. Okay. So classification of poison according to the chief symptom produced. We have corrosive poison. Some of them are corrosive, meaning the word corrosive, it simply means strong acids like sulfuric acid, then hydrochloric acid. All those are corrosive. We have systemic irritants as well as miscellaneous. So when you say corrosive acids, we're referring to like sulfuric acid, nitric acid, as well as hydrochloric acid. These are strong, so they need strong alkali like hydrides and carbonates of sodium and potassium as well as ammonium. And if someone takes poison and it having a strong poison, they need this strong alkali, like strong reactivity series of metal. Remember way back in high school where we talked about the posokamazil comesigo. That's how I used to call it, posokamazil comesigo. That was emphasizing on potassium, sodium. Those bases that are made from potassium and sodium, they are strong, 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 strong bases. So if one maybe takes an acid, they've taken an acid, they've administered, maybe they've just committed suicide. The best way, give them a strong alkali like sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. That one, it will help them to be neutralized. And that's the reason why when you rush them at the nearest hospital clinic, those things are there and they can neutralize the patient very fast and they can come back to life before their organ has been already damaged.